finally getting around to talking about this. This, to me, of the two parts that we've had with the Twitter files, is the far more important one because it's more identifiable. It's easily identifiable, and it really shows. I mean, people guessed. You had these various forms of like technology that really kind of showed whether someone was being shadow banned or all of that. And what this did is we know now for a fact that not only the technology exists, but that it was really used more so on people that happen to be leaning towards the side of the political aisle that you can, of course, all guess. Now, the gaslighters are going to, we'll get into that in a minute, actually. Let's talk about it real quick here. So, Bari Weiss is now responsible for this, part 2, and this is the thread, Twitter's secret blacklist. Let's go into it. It's a Twitter Files investigation reveals that teams of Twitter employees build a blacklist, prevent disfavored tweets from trending, and actively limit the visibility of entire accounts or even trending topics, all in secret without informing users. Now, this is something that it seemed more obvious, definitely with the trending topics. You see, a lot of that stuff was manufactured, right? When you knew that people were talking about something, it didn't seem to be a trending topic, or it was taken off of the trending topic like immediately, and there was other things that were allowed to certainly manifest. And again, it's playing the political kind of favoritism, and it wasn't really an honest system. Definitely, if you're not informing the users that's the case. Twitter once had a mission to give everyone power to create, share ideas and information instantly without barriers along the way. Barriers, nevertheless, were erected. Who I've talked about, this man right here. It says, take, for example, Stanford's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who argued that COVID lockdowns would harm children. Twitter secretly placed him on Trend's blacklist, which prevented his tweets from trending. Now, this was a very smart man. He was ahead of the whole COVID scam that was sold on a lie with this, and it's you had the great was the Barrington Declaration, right? And you'd have all these people who were actual experts within the industry, right? They say trust the experts, and you'd get these experts who maybe had a different opinion on like lockdowns and its impact than what, let's say, the legacy doctors that were being thrown out there, or legacy media doctors that were being thrown out there, that were spreading constant doom and gloom and insisting that your children be miserable. And one of the ones that spoke out about this stuff, even with the data, he was like, a lot of this isn't making sense. And it's not data driven. We talked about Jay Bhattacharya, and we know now that, as you can see in this deal, he's on Trend's blacklist. So if he had said anything that was warranting, let's say, trending, and people were talking about it, well, he's on a blacklist. Another one, Dan Bongino, who you know as he's like a popular conservative commentator or what have you. He's on a search blacklist, as you can see right here. He's on a search blacklist. So, meaning that if you searched, if you searched him, you know what I mean. It was like you couldn't really find some of his information. Twitter set account conservative Charlie Kirk here. It says do not amplify right here. Twitter denied, and this is the important part, that it does such things. In 2018, Vijaya, I never know how to say her name, then head of legal policy and trust and the head of product, they said, and we quote, "We do not shadow ban." And we certainly don't shadow ban based on political viewpoints or ideology. They do shadow ban. It has been confirmed. What many people call shadow banning, Twitter executives, employees call visible filtering. Multiple high-level sources confirm its meaning. Think about visible filtering as being a way for us to suppress what people see to different levels. It's a powerful tool, says one senior Twitter employee. Now, this VF refers to Twitter's control over the visibility. It used VF to block searches of individual users, to limit the scope of particular tweets' discoverability, to block select users' posts from ever appearing on the trending page, and from inclusion in hashtag searches. All without users' knowledge, which is also important. We control visibility quite a bit, which, again, that's an assumption. I already assume that. And we control amplification of content quite a bit. It's manufactured. And normal people do not know how much we do. One Twitter engineer told us. 2 additional Twitter employees have confirmed. Got my DMs all open. I just realized this. Okay, so what else? We have the group that decided whether to limit the reach of certain users, whether Strategic Response Team, Global Escalation Team, or SRTGET. It often handled up to 200 cases a day. But there existed a level beyond official ticketing, beyond rank and file moderators following the company's policy on paper. That is the site integrity policy escalation support, known as SIPPS. SIPPS. This secret group, of course, included the Legal Policy and Trust, Vagio, whatever her name is, and Yoel Roth, as well as CEOs Jack Dorsey and Parag. Okay, Jack Dorsey went to Congress and said that this stuff wasn't a thing, which is interesting. This is where biggest, most political sensitive decisions got made. Think high follower count, controversial. Another Twitter employee told us for these, there would be no ticketing or anything. One of the accounts that rose to the level of scrutiny was, of course, as we knew, Libs of TikTok. An account that was on the Trends blacklist was designated to do not take action on user without consulting that team. And as you can see, they are on a blacklist, a Trends blacklist right here. The account and now boasts over $1.4 million followers, was subjected to 6 suspensions in 2022. And each time the person that was behind it was blocked from posting for as long as a week. Twitter repeatedly informed her that she had been suspended for violating Twitter's policy against hateful conduct. But in an internal SIPPES memo from October 2022, after her 7th suspension, the committee acknowledged that LTT, Libs of TikToks, has not directly engaged in behavior violative of the hateful conduct policy. So, site policy recommendation, and this is coming from, again, another internal stuff, more internal stuff. And they recommend placing them on a 7-day timeout at the account level, meaning for not a specific tweet. So they, oh wow, this is bad. On the account's continued pattern of indirectly, by the way, Twitter's hateful conduct policy by tweeting content that either leads to or intends to incite harassment, even though that hasn't happened. At this time, site policy has not found explicit. They stated they have not found these violative tweets which would result in a permanent suspension. That's targeted. That is legitimately targeted, because they're saying right now explicitly, we don't even have any examples of it. It's more of an idea, and we need to get this person up out of here, or rather get him suspended. Says this type of enforcement will not lead to permanent suspension. However, Libs of TikTok should Libs of TikTok engage in any direct tweet level violations of any site policies, we will move forward with permanent suspension. Okay, so this is what it is. By their own policy, and it says right here in the assessment, since its most recent timeout, while Libs of TikTok has not directly engaged in behavior violative of the hateful conduct policy, the user has continued targeting individuals, allies, supporters of the LGBT, blah, blah, blah. All right, so they can't pin Libs of TikTok on anything that is in violation, let's say that, of their policy. Yet they were suspending them anyway. Not perma suspension, timeouts more so. Because they didn't like what they were highlighting. Though, by their own admission, it did not violate any of their rules. That's targeted, that's internal, by way of this, of Twitter's whatever various groups. And we know that to be confirmed as of now. The committee justified her suspensions internally by claiming her posts encouraged online harassment of hospitals and medical providers by insinuating that gender-affirming health care is equivalent to child abuse or grooming. Well, it is. Anyway, it says when they told Twitter, or when the Libs of TikTok owner told Twitter that her address had been disseminated, excuse me. She says Twitter support responded with this message. We reviewed the reported content and didn't find any violation. This kind of is what happened to me. I've gotten these messages where I got suspended and then they would say they reviewed it and then they said that it wasn't like that big suspension that I had. Y'all remember that when I was like not on Twitter for like 6 months or something like that? And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened, where they sent me, they still suspended me, yet they were saying that I'd end up getting a message saying that none of those tweets had violated the rules, which was weird. It was like there was two conflicting teams or whatever. In an internal Slack messages, Twitter employees spoke of using technicalities to restrict the visibility of the tweets. Here's Joel Roth, Twitter's then global trust and safety, head of trust and safety, in a direct message to a colleague right here. This is what Roth said. A lot of times SIs use technicality spam enforcements as a way to solve a problem created by safety under enforcing their policies, which again isn't a problem per se, but it keeps us from addressing the root cause of the issue, which is that our safety and policies need some attention. Interesting. This is like good stuff, man. As you see right here, 6 days later, in a direct message with an employee on the health, misinformation, privacy, and identity research team, Roth requested more research to support expanding non-removal policy interventions like disabling engagements. This is so basically acting in shadow banning. And you can see this post here of him, Roth himself saying that. The hypothesis, this is what Roth wrote, underlying much of what we've implemented is that if exposure, misinformation, God, I hate that term, directly causes harm, we should use. This is what this is this company internally, through their own rules, they knew that a lot of these people didn't violate them. So what they did was come about, or attempt to come about, random sort of technicalities and ways to limit the reach of those people that they could not find actual fault in. And you have this head of whatever trying to insist that they even more so look into those rules, because what they want to do, like, and that should not be the case internally. It's like they want to make sure they get these guys off of the platform, but they can't find it. So he's asking essentially that that be looked into so they can, address these like their own rules, just so they can get these people up out of here. He added, with Jack on the board with implementing this for civic integrity in the near term, but we're going to need to make more robust case to get into the repertoire, of policy remediations, especially for other policy domains. You can get more of the story here if you want. And it looks like we're going to get another installment. What this confirms, it's not that difficult. The whole shadow banning thing was a thing. I don't know who's all on it, who's not on it. We know that as a confirmation that the technology exists and it was leaning one way. And some of these big conservative heads how you feel about them is irrelevant. They were having their tweets limited, not necessarily breaking any rules, but having their tweet eliminated. Excuse me. Now, I understand that the technology exists. Hell, even, and this is what you're going to have some people say, well, didn't Elon Musk say that he was going to do this as well? Because Elon talked about, well, instead of like just all out banning people, you limit their reach. So it sounds like in some way, shape, or form, that technology is still going to be able to be used. And they probably still will use it. I think we still need more of a bigger confirmation that the technology has at least been taken off of these guys' accounts. Because again, they didn't do anything wrong, and it's not really anything that can classify as hate speech or anything like that. But Elon's bragged about hate impressions, and I think the thing that Twitter faces now with Elon and like what he has to address is having a specific, precise definition of what they mean by this whole hate speech stuff or hate impressions or whatever, and be completely transparent in how that's going to be implemented. Is it keyword situation? He has to be completely upfront, because now, great, we know that this technology exists. So what people thought kind of, and that their accounts would be like, we know that some of those people had legitimate cases that internally Twitter was actively suppressing them. Like that's all that's been confirmed. Now it's about, okay, we know that you have kind of a variation of this, not to this degree, that you want to implement yourself. What is that policy? How is that going to be implemented? What is it going to be based on? He has to be as transparent as possible. But to all these weirdos, I mean, I've talked about this before. If you talk to some of these leftists, they like to think they are the ones that get suppressed. These guys have been favorited by basically every major tech company in terms of what their views were, especially with the whole COVID stuff. Yet for whatever reason, they like to think they're the ones. Well, let's say this. If you would tell them, even if having the evidence, people that lean this way are often the ones that get suppressed. They would deny that existence, or they gaslight you. Well, it's just hate speech and stuff. So basically everything it is that you say is based on hate. Now, this is the scary part. And what I hope, if he's transparent, and Elon and Twitter is transparent, what I hope is that it forces the hand of the other tech companies. Because we know it exists, YouTube. So I want to see the data. I want to know if YouTube has that version of it and of this and what it looks like. Let's check it out. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.